This is one of my favorite dresses, but I hardly ever wear it, so obviously I have to make another one just like it. Well, almost just like it.
The first thing to do is prep the fabric, which is a bedsheet I found at my local thrift store. I've recently been hearing a lot of discourse online about using bedsheets for sewing, and I have thoughts. But this is not the video for that discussion. I have a different discussion in mind, and I will introduce said discussion by answering this question.
If this is one of my favorite dresses, then why do you never see me wear it? Because I can only wear it when it actually fits me. My size fluctuates a lot. A lot. I have been too big for this dress, I have been too small for this dress, and right now it just fits me, which has me wishing I could wear it more often. It also has me wishing I had more dresses in this style. Well, I can grant myself one of those wishes. I'm going to make another dress just like this, but with some slight modifications to the pattern so that I can wear it as my size fluctuates.
The first adjustment to the pattern was changing the bodice from 3 pieces to 4 pieces. The original pattern I made had a front, a side front, and a back with a dart, but for the adjustability goals of this dress, I would be transforming the pattern into 4 pieces. A front, a side back, and a back. Once that was complete, I could then take my new side front and side back pieces and diminish them. That is, I made some duplicate pieces of each piece with the modification of making them about 4 centimeters less wide. So the original pieces you see here are the wider pieces, and the ones I will be using for this dress are the not so wide pieces. Then I could create a whole new piece dubbed the center side panel, which for some reason I did not film me making or cutting, but this is essentially what it looks like. Its ultimate end would be to fill in the space which I chopped off of the 2 side pieces, plus a little extra so that it could be cinched in. The next step was to cut out all of the pieces, bodice pieces, lining pieces, flat lining for all, and the skirt pieces. And if you're wondering if you can get all of that from a queen size flat bed sheet, no. Close, but not quite. I had a little section of cotton that I scrounged from the fabric bins at my local thrift store a while back, which worked excellently for finishing up the lining pieces. By the way, if I am ever able to get to a point where I can make and sell my patterns, this will probably be the first one I produce because I freaking love this dress, both the adjustable and the non-adjustable versions. Flat lining was the next step. I like to flatline all of my bodice pieces and lining pieces too if the fabric is very thin, not only for stability and longevity, but also because I really hate messing with slips. Of course, when flatlining, the pieces can be basted with the sewing machine, but I find it a much smoother, neater result if I baste by hand. Most certainly it takes more time, but I do prefer it. You do you though. I'm not here to tell you what to do, I'm here to tell you what I do, then you can decide what works for you. Then of course, the next step is to drop off the recycling and wonder what's the story behind this image. A thrift store that accepts donations is quite literally 2 minutes down the road, so I'm curious to know why this item ended up here. Maybe it fell out of someone's car and rolled to that spot. Maybe a kid can't afford a skateboard, so this is what they were using and had to leave it behind because someone chased them away, or maybe it slipped through a portal. So many possibilities. Here are all of my bodice pieces, the lining and the outer fabric. Now to sew them all together except for the side seams. Then I can sew the waistbands on, and next I can attach all of the skirt pieces and skirt lining pieces too. Now it's almost time to insert those center side panels, but first I must make and insert some loops. I'm going to need 7 loops on each side, so 7 for here, 7 for here, 7 for here, and 7 for there. So 28 loops in total. And since I was making the loops, I also made the lacing at the same time, which is why I cut so many strips of fabric. To make loops, I just cut out a strip of fabric roughly 4 centimeters wide, fold it in half, and stitch it together, give it a trim, pull it through with a loop turner, and give it a press. For the lacing, it's similar but also different. I cut out strips about the same width as the loops, but because I didn't have enough continuous fabric, I had to cut out many strips and sew them together end to end. And as it is such a long strip, turning it through with a loop turner is not my go-to. That way lies frustration and curses and rubbish lacing. I simply fold the fabric on each side, very similar to making bias tape, but this is not on the bias. And then I fold it over again and press, finishing each end with a tiny turn under and press before taking it over to the sewing machine and top stitching it all along the long length. This method can be used for long lacing, but also for fabrics that are too big and bulky for a loop turner, also for fabrics that are too delicate, like lightweight chiffon or lace for spaghetti straps. So that was the lacing. For the loops, I simply had to finish turning them into loops by chopping them and, well, looping them into place on the dress. I like to hand baste them once I have placed them because they can be rather shifty while I'm trying to sew them on with the machine. With the loops in, that meant I could finally attach the center side panels, which I did on the outer fabric and the lining fabric too. The time had come to join the shoulder seams together. Also had come the time to take a break. I just didn't know that it would be quite so long. Those steps that you just saw may have looked like they occurred in quick succession. They, in fact, did not.
life got just a little bit hectic, and so I was only able to run in here every once in a while to do a step and then run back out. So those steps occurred over the course of several weeks, and then it got really hectic. I have not touched this dress in what feels like 3 months. In reality, it's only been a month and a half. Still quite a while, so I do not remember where I left off with this dress. I don't remember what I have to do. So let's review. I could absolutely review my last clips, but I think this will be much quicker. I was getting really grumpy about this dress too. I needed a break from it because I was absolutely hating it, and I think that was mostly because of how frantic life was. So I felt like this was completely unimportant and ridiculous. But now I'm kind of looking forward to completing it and wearing it, so that's good. What's going on in your life really does influence how you view certain things, even things as simple as clothing. Okay, looks like the sleeves are all sewn up. I'm just gonna thread some elastic through here, sew them into the dress, and then put a zipper in, lace up the loops, and hem it. Not too many steps left, so that is fantastic. And definitely a very good press needs to occur. But not too many steps. Let's do it.
On the subject of size fluctuation, it can be a sensitive subject for many, and I think it's really important to recognize that different people have different reasons and different things that can help or harm them in regards to those sensitivities. I know there are possibly several people here ready to assure me that I am beautiful at any weight, and while I appreciate that they probably mean well, it's important to me to let them know that such compliments do not speak to me. Before I go much further though, I would like to point out that these are my own personal thoughts and feelings. There are quite a few people who appreciate being told that they're beautiful. Words of affirmation about their physique is important to them. I, however, am not such an individual. In fact, it makes my skin crawl to have someone talk about my physical appearance, positively or negatively. Yes, I will sometimes say thank you to the compliments because I do think they are probably well meant and I do not wish to hurt anyone's feelings, but whenever I have the opportunity, I like to explain something. It's not about how I look, it's about how I feel, and that is not something that you can tell by looking at me. You have possibly heard the phrase, don't judge a book by its cover, and for a long time I thought that meant don't dismiss a book because it has an unappealing cover. I've come to realize it means even more than that. One might look at a book with the most attractive, enticing, shiny new cover, but upon opening it, might discover it is a very poorly written book. One might also open such a book and find hours upon hours of delightful reading, but one does not know until one opens the book and reads what is inside. Every person has a story, and we cannot tell that by simply looking at the outer shell. When I share with someone that I am frustrated with the fact that my size has fluctuated, I'm not fishing for assurance or compliments. I am frustrated when my size fluctuates, but for very particular reasons. The dress I am remaking, I have been able to fit into. I have also been too big to fit into it, and I have been so small I was swimming in it. And I know exactly why my size fluctuated each time. I went through some crappy things, extreme life changes that resulted in me gaining or losing weight. My difficulty with weight fluctuation has nothing to do with the actual number on the scale or on the measuring tape or with society's standards of beauty. It has to do with the fact that it is a change, and usually other things in life changed along with it. On the simpler side, there is the added frustration of the fact that I make most of my own clothing, and when my size shifts, I can no longer wear that item that I spent so much time making. Until, of course, maybe my size shifts back, and then there will be other clothes that I cannot wear for a time. Absolutely. The fact that my size has fluctuated so much over the years is not the worst thing to happen, but my gaining weight or losing weight is associated with other things that I have gained that I never wanted, and things that I have lost that I wanted to hold tight to forever. It's not so simple, an individual human story. My outer shell is only a tiny, tiny part of my story, and it's not going to tell you much about what's inside at all. I'm afraid you'll have to hang around for quite a while if you want to discover that. But for now, thanks for spending your time with me today.